What's up, guys? We got another game with the white pieces. We're rated 1482 against Gogo73, who's rated 1479. So we're almost at the 1500 range, and we play the bishop's opening, and black responds with the relatively passive d6, hemming in his bishop, but opening up the light square bishop. We'll just develop our knight towards the center and control these light squares. Black goes a6. What does this threaten? Maybe to expand with b5, but the downside is he's not developing any of his pieces. So that might come to bite him later. We're just going to close the pawn chain and open up our dark square bishop. Black develops knight c6, a knight towards the center, looking at the dark squares. Now it's our turn. We want to play f4 and then develop our knight behind the pawn and potentially start a kingside attack. So black responds by capturing. This allows us to develop our bishop and recapture at the same time. Also keep in mind that this check isn't dangerous, doesn't lose the bishop because of both g3 and bishop g3. Black goes h6. What does this threaten? Nothing. Again, maybe to expand with g5, but it's probably not good. The drawback is it's a pawn move and wastes time. So we can continue our development. We can develop the knight to its most natural square. A move like this threatens checkmate in one. Let's say he just does the simple g6. Where would our queen go there? I mean, I don't see a reason to play with the queen just yet. So we'll just go knight f3. Black does indeed go g5. What does this threaten? To win the bishop. What is the drawback? It weakens the dark squares. It's also a pawn move, so it doesn't develop. And I'm obviously not going to let him capture my bishop. So you can bring it back probably to various squares. I'm going to bring it towards the center just because centralizing can't really be a bad idea. He goes bishop g7, developing a piece and eyeing this dark diagonal. So that's probably a good idea by him. We can continue by developing. We could put a rook on f1 either by itself or with short castling. I guess I'm just going to do the simple queen d2. Not to defend the knight, but really just to prepare long castling. And then all my pieces are on really nice squares. A rook will be on the f file. So white decides to develop his other bishop. He's not touching his king's knight, or I'm not sure where he's castling, but he puts a bishop here. What does this threaten? A trade of a knight, but I welcome that trade. The drawback is this piece is a little loose. The trade isn't like dangerous for me or bad for me. So I'm just gonna put the question to the bishop and see if he wants to trade or just get out of my territory. He does neither. He still stays in my territory and goes bishop h5. The drawback is, I guess I get to expand on this side for free, which I'm not going to be castling there. And when he goes back, it is a nice cubbyhole, but it will be staring at this pawn chain. So I'm going to kick it. He goes back, of course, so he doesn't lose it. So these bishops, I mean, they're kind of nice, but at the same time, white's position is still a lot better. So now I'm going to take this opportunity to long castle. And now my position's really nice, well developed. So black develops his final minor piece towards the center, put some pressure on the light squares. but still not really threatening anything. I have control of the center. He doesn't. Um, so we can finish our development. We can also just always start with king b1, which is extremely safe and advised. In this particular case, I'm just going to put a rook on f1, the semi-open file, and continue development that way. Okay, but now he castles. I thought he was going to castle queenside because of these pawns, but now that he castled kingside, I kind of want my other rook on f1 and this rook back on h1, but that's not a big deal. Because it looks like I can somehow push h4, which is what I want to do. So let's see, how do we set that up? His knight's always going to take here. So can we move our queen, let's say, to something like g2? Does that do anything? Support the kingside attack? Let me start with king b1. If I'm gonna pawn storm him, I might as well get it off this diagonal. Just see what he does for a second. So he removes this knight. And this is why it's always good to have a strong waiting move like king b1, because then he'll do something like this, and what does this threaten? Maybe to cement a knight on e5, but the drawback is for one turn, it does not attack this pawn, as well as these squares. So I can jump my knight in to now the undefended square, but I can also push h4, and he can't take this pawn. So I'm going to push h4 now that he's no longer pressuring that. He captures my pawn, but it shatters his king side a little bit. We could take. Yeah, let's just take the pawn back, remove another defender of the king. We always have rook h1 to get our pawn back, and we're definitely going to put it back on h1 at some point. Now he lost 2 pawns in front of his king, and even this h pawn, like, it's not helping. Okay, so he ignores my bishop and puts a knight in the center. That makes sense. That does make sense. If I take this bishop and he takes a piece, any piece, he'll be hitting my queen. But neither of those pieces is a problem. Well, slightly annoying. I'm not sure which way to start. You know, just take the bishop. Whichever way he takes, I don't mind either recapture. Okay, so he doesn't do that. He just brings the king up. That's fair. So now I want to scoop this pawn. But now his rook can slide over, so it's not as practical. Okay. For a second, I'm going to save this bishop. You don't need to do that, but might as well. He takes another pawn. He is up a pawn now, but that was, like, if anything, a defender of his king side, even though it was my piece. It was in the way of all my stuff. So it kind of opens up more possibilities for me, I feel like. This move here, does it do anything? It hits his knight. He can't defend with the queen, which is, I mean, he can, but not. He won't offer a queen trade. I'm just going to activate my queen a little bit since I'm running out of time. I have moves like this. I have moves like this, as well as the g1. What other moves do I have? I like my position. He goes knight to e5, threatens a trade, just gets it out of harm's way basically. But now this pawn's hanging with an attack on the bishop. And now I have some access to his king. He swings his rook over and attacks my knight twice. So he's coordinating. I'm going to give this check. I'm not going to take his bishop. I'm going to put it on f5, which is a good attacking square. He can trade if he wants, obviously. But that opens up his king again. And I'll take back with the queen. Coordinating on the light squares. And my king, as you can see, is perfectly safe. So he ignores and just moves his king. That's a fair. But I feel like there are drawbacks to this. His center is very attackable, I feel like. So does this kick the knight out of the center? And my queen and rook are looking at this square, as well as the bishop, for potential checkmate ideas. Now that the knight doesn't defend it. Okay, so the knight goes back. Has nowhere else to go. And what to do? I'm just going to move my rook over and pressure this bishop, which I may be able to take because I can have a potential pin here with the queen. And I'm going to put my other rook here, so I can have pressure on these files. I did for one turn remove the checkmate threat, but anyway. He develops his knight on the F file. Now I'm going to double stack and create pressure. If I move my knight, I'll be threatening his knight. I just don't have like good knight jumps. Okay, so he hits my queen. I'm just going to quickly move my queen back. Hopefully to a good square because I didn't have time to think. And now again, if I move my knight, I have a lot of pressure. But where to move my knight? I mean, sack it. Takes. King over. Could always take the bishop and then bring my queen in. So he moves his queen up and we take it. Thank you, guy. Because I was running out of time. So you made that way easier for me. So now we just take... Talk about a total collapse for no reason at all. What the heck was that? What? His position was totally fine. What the heck was that? Okay, so apparently this guy just broke down in 2 or 3 moves for no reason, gave his queen and blundered checkmate. Which was good because we had less than a minute. So now you can see somewhat how to coordinate an attack. Just keep applying the pressure down the F file. These are the things we're looking for in the bishop's opening, or one of the possible transitions. Feel free to submit your rapid games in my Discord. Link below. Goodbye.